Cindy, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you. I don't feel so bad about the notes that I have after listening to all the things we've listened to.
Yeah.
So I just want to start out by also saying thank you for having me here. I actually am a resident of Oklahoma. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of my story, but my story went public on June 14th with about Gateway and Robert Morris. And I am the 12-year-old that he sexually abused for over 4 years. It started on Christmas night, December 25th of 1982, and I'm just going to give you a few highlights of some things about the abuse, but even more so about my adult life. Like I said, I was 12 years old, and I was wearing pink pajamas, and what he told me after he abused me the first time was, "No, you can never tell anyone because it will ruin everything." As a 12-year-old little girl, I didn't understand what that meant.
How old was he at the time?
He was, I believe, 21 or 22. Well, I think he might have been 22, maybe 23. There's about a 10 to 10 and a half year gap, I believe. So I didn't want to ruin anything. And this was a close family friend as well as what was considered a spiritual leader as a traveling evangelist. This did go on for over 4 years until I finally told when I was 17. I shared with a mutual family friend who was also a friend of the Morrises, and she, in turn, had me tell my parents. Back in the 80s, this is not something that was discussed. So to think of going to share with any legal services, that just wasn't discussed. So Robert went on to live his life supposedly with a small step down from ministry to receive what they called restoration. It took me about 20 more years until I fully understood the term abuse because it was not aggressive, what I experienced, and it was a family friend. I was 37 years old when my attorney actually reached out, even though the statute of limitations had expired, to try and receive about $50,000 is what he asked for my counseling. At that time, I was re-victimized by being told I was the one to blame, that I was the one at 12 years old that pursued a married man with children. In turn, they offered me $25,000 as long as I signed an NDA. I'm sitting here today because I did not accept that offer and refused to sign an NDA saying I couldn't speak about my life. When you compare his life to my life, if you know who he is, and I think that this happens a lot in child sexual abuse victims' lives, people think that it's about what happened physically to us, but what actually carries on throughout our life is the disconnect that was made and the development that we missed out on, both physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and the compartmentalizing that starts taking place. And there is scientific evidence of the trauma in our brains that they have been able to prove. You know, Robert continued to build a ministry and a life, writing books and growing his wealth and his platform, while I do have some wonderful things that I've experienced in my adult life, I also have had multiple marriages and incurred tens of thousands of dollars in counseling. While I was trying to make sense of my brokenness in my life and rebuild and protect my own children from child sexual abuse, he was building that platform that today I'm thankful we are able to use to talk about this subject. I'm 54 years old. I'm a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 3. And the average age of someone to speak is 52. I believe that I'm here for a few important reasons. One, I have an amazing family and friends that have supported me all the way through to this day. I did spend countless hours and dollars in counseling to be able to be here today, not knowing that this day would ever come. I did finally share my story privately, as I have for 4 decades, to the right person, a retired pastor, Wade Burleson, who encouraged me to go public with my story in order to help end child sexual abuse. But I think the biggest reason that I am able to be here today is because I refused to sign the NDA. I'm not here just for myself. I'm here for what I believe in 2021 they assume are over 42 million adult victims of child sexual abuse living in the United States. That's living. And I just hope to see the future change so that it's normalized to talk about it, to expose it, and to prevent it. And allowing people to speak freely of their experiences is the only way that that will ever happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for sharing your story. We'll have some questions here in just a sec.